Hey there, this is Chad from Zombie Fight Shark, and today's question is, do you regroove? Do you know how to regroove? Have you used the ReGroove Mixer? Let's get into it, shall we? The ReGroove Mixer, it does exactly what you might think it does. It applies real-time groove to your beat. It is a non-destructive editor. I guess you would say it's editing your beat. And it's applying swing or slide or shuffle or whatever you want to call it to your beat. And you can apply grooves to your beat. And it's a pretty nifty little device. So let's break it down and get an understanding of what it is, what it does, and how to humanize your music a little bit more. So I have made a simple little bass and drum beat here. Let's take a listen to it. So that is straight no groove. Like it says right up here, straight no groove. So now I'm going to apply a groove to it, and then we're going to hear what it sounds like with the groove. So if you did notice a big difference, that's okay. No judgment. It's not a huge difference. But what I did there was I have on the bass, backety snare bass is what I have applied to the bass. And then on the drums, I have this backety snare groove applied to it. And it humanizes it just a little bit. It's not, it's subtle. It is not over the top. But we're going to explore some that are a little bit more intense and get a better understanding of how to use the ReGroove and what to apply when and what it's actually going to do. So come along with me. So first, let's look at all the buttons here. Let's understand what all the buttons do. It's not too many. These are not hard to understand at all. So we've got 4 banks, 8 channels per bank, A, B, C, D. So, and that corresponds to, you know, what you see here, A, B, C, D, 1 through 8 on each one of them. So that part's pretty simple. Anchor point is if you have a song that has a, let's say it has a 3-bar intro and you want your groove to start on bar 4, then you can set your anchor point for, these are bars. So that's a way to change where the groove starts applying itself, because most grooves are, they're usually 4 or 8 bars. If you had an odd intro or you had odd meters or just for some reason you wanted to apply your groove at something other than the first measure, that's how to do it. This global shuffle, this applies to everything that uses global shuffle. So if you had another instrument with an arpeggiator, it's not drums, but it uses global shuffle, this will affect that. And you see the global shuffle on-off buttons here. So you can, it'll override. So like when I click that, see this light goes off and then the light comes back on. So when you if you want everything to have that same shuffle, you want it to line up, then that's a way to do it. I personally don't like to do that because if you have played in a band or listened to music, even when there's a shuffle, everybody doesn't line up the same. That's like kind of weird. It would be like strange if they did. Every once in a while, yeah, of course they're going to line up, but for shuffle, like, no, the whole point is it's supposed to be loose. So anyways, that's just my opinion. You know, do what you like. So groove, this is how much percentage of groove amount you want to apply. And that will be obvious when we get into a demonstration of that. Slide moves all the notes in your channel by this many ticks. And if you don't know what a tick is, it's like a subdivision of a subdivision of a subdivision. It's the smallest amount that you can move a note in MIDI. So this will let you move it 120 positive or negative ticks, and we'll demonstrate that in a second. Shuffle, I think we just kind of covered. So this is individual shuffle per channel. And just a suggestion, you know, when you have, if you were applying this, you had 4 players in a band, everybody shuffles a little different. Everybody's going to be close, but like one guy plays, this is just a way to humanize music. So one guy plays ahead of the beat. So you could apply the ticks, but you could still have him have some sort of shuffle. And then one guy plays behind the beat. So you could apply the ticks and you could have him, but you could have him shuffle more. If you play with these, you'll be amazed at how quickly you can take something very robotic sounding and make it more human. Pre-align is if you had, say you had played these your instrument on the keyboard and it wasn't quantized, pre-align will quantize it non-destructively, so that you can then apply your groove or shuffle or slide to it. And then the last button here, edit, it pulls up your tool window, and there's you got your groove patch, you got this timing, velocity note, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to cover all this here in more depth in just a second. And how do you pull up the remixer, this groove button that, you know, it's like might as well be invisible because, you know, I'll be honest, I never even think about it. But boom, there it is. The other option, at least on PC, you hit the window button and there, hide ReGroove Mixer, show ReGroove Mixer. So there's how you actually get to the thing. So you've heard it applied to bass and drums in a subtle manner. Let's get a little more granular with it and actually explore how does it apply to how does it subdivide, how does it move stuff around, what is actually going on with it. So I have created this very awesome little subdivision here. I got quarters, eighths, sixteenths, and you can see what they look like there, and they sound incredible. So you get the idea there, and we're going to move some stuff around using this so you can get an understanding. So we're going to go to the sixteenths and see it's on C1. We're going to enable it. So you can see it changes to C1 right there. And here it is down here, straight ahead. All right, I have not applied a groove to it. All it is so it's an empty channel. So let's listen to it. And then let's play with the slide because that's a real obvious one. So listen to it get behind the beat. So it's like it's off time, right? So, and that like starts to, it could make you go crazy. And just for fun here, this is, so like that's 101 ticks, which is significant. And now the eighth note channel, let's enable it. So getting kind of weird. Now, if we wanted to, we could C3 this one. And so now we've got 3 different channels. They're all just sort of all over the place there. But that's an example of a way that, you know, if they're instruments, you know, you want them to play like people. So that's a way to humanize it. So let's disable these. And let's look at 16th. So there's what slide does. You can hear it move the notes. You know, it's very obvious. So let's play with shuffle. So 50% is just straight up and down. You know, it's not going to do anything. When you get to 66%, it's a triplet feel. So a lot of times you want to be between 50 and 60%, but sometimes you got a hard swing. So see, straight up and down. And you can hear it chopping the note off there. All right, so you with me so far? We have played with slide and shuffle. We don't have to worry about pre-align in this case because, like I said, this is already lined up, but you know what it does if it's not lined up. So let's apply a groove to something, and then we can start using these groove settings and see how they apply. I don't want to use the backety snare on all of these. I want to do one that's a little bit more obvious. So I'm going to hit browse, go to programmed, Janet. So these, every one of these has a specific feel to it. You know, it's four measures. You see it over here. And time signature 4/4. That's important. Not all of them are in 4/4. And they're all going to make your drum beat feel a certain way. Let's do an A/B. So we're gonna disable, and I'm not going to enable this top track because that is a fill track. So that is crash, and then these are toms. So ignore that top track. All right, so let's enable. So you can hear that swing starting to apply, like Janet has a pretty heavy swing to it. So, and it's so heavy that it actually makes it actually makes that drum fill sound a little strange. So we'll go ahead and apply it to the drum fill and just see what it does. Let's see. Yeah, that's a little bit more natural. So that's something to be aware of there is when you're playing with these, either your groove percentage, you got to play with it. If some things are straight and some things are not. Like I usually will leave a channel that I don't apply anything to because I want some things to be right on the one. And so in this case, like I probably have another channel if I was creating a track where it would be my fill track with shuffle. I'd have a fill track without shuffle that I would also use for like cymbal crashes and things like that. So let's play with the groove amount, this percentage here. So all right, 100. You can really hear it in the hi-hats as we go down because the swing was so heavy in those hi-hats. So let's go all the way to 0. You know, and it's not like totally robotic. It's not the worst beat in the world, but let's just go to 20. So pretty straight, like this particular groove patch has got a real, it's just got a lot of swing to it. So Donna, I usually use on rock. Let's listen to Mary and we'll do 100%. So this is where your timing impact, velocity impact, no length impact, that's where this is starting to apply. So let's play with that. Actually, you know what? Let's switch back to Janet, and we're gonna play with the timing impact and watch it change. Should be noticeable. heavy swing there. So you can hear it. It's kind of doing the same thing that when we're playing with this groove amount percentages, pretty much doing the same thing there. Velocity impact. So some of these you will notice a velocity change, or it's like some of your hits will suddenly, like it was, if you're using a multi-sample drum set, then all of a sudden your hits will change and it'll be a rim shot instead of just a regular snare hit when you start playing with that. Because some of these grooves have velocity information, so that can affect that part of your groove, but also that tends to be one of the things that makes it the most human, in my opinion. So note length impact, we're not going to notice it with drums. You do notice it in the bass some. So let's look at that real quick. So you can hear it chopped off the end there. Yeah, so that's what it does there. As you play with this, it'll shorten and lengthen some notes to add more of a groove to them, and that's very dependent on the bass line you're playing. Sometimes it ruins the bass line. So that one I always use very hesitantly. But let's get back into the drums, because this random timing is a fun one for drums. So let's see. Our drums are all on B1. Let's do something. This MPC 60 is a very popular one, or is for me. So 55% shuffle. MPC has like kind of a legendary shuffle to it that many people have tried to recreate it. Back on the drums, we have applied the MPC 55% shuffle. So here we are. We're going to apply random timing to it and see what it does. Pretty crazy. Yeah. I don't know how often you need to use the 120 ticks, but I would say you could go all the way up to 25 or 30, depending on the song, and that can add some nice feel to it. So real quick before we wrap it up, I want to just show. I didn't really, this velocity impact, I think here's a way to kind of understand it a little bit better. We have a cabasa right here, and we have applied our straight shaker to it, and so here it is with nothing. Very dull. Very dull. So now let's start applying timing. Now it's starting to sound a little more natural. Now let's apply velocity and see if it comes to life. Very much so. So just to flip it the other way. Nothing. Sounds almost like a real person, huh? And we could throw in a few random ticks. And when you do a small amount, this is just adding to the human element, just making it sound more and more human, because it's not always 19 ticks that it's going to do, but you know, do less, do whatever, do less or more. Some session players are amazingly in time, so you can, you know, add a few ticks here and there, because some people just have that good of time that they're almost literally always on the one with very, very little variance. And that's the ReGroove Mixer. That's how you use it. That's what it does. That's what the editing does. In part 2 of this, we will cover this. See this get from clip. We will cover that portion in part 2. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you then. Cheers.